Ron Howard's journey through the unforgiving world of Hollywood is a tale of survival and resilience. Born on March 1, 1954 in Duncan, Oklahoma, to working actors Rance and Gene Howard, Ron was immersed in the entertainment industry before he could even speak. His childhood was not marked by playground games, but by the cold steel of movie sets, where the harsh lights and demanding schedules quickly overshadowed any sense of normalcy. By the time he was 18 months old, Ron was already on film sets, with his first steps taken on the hard wood of a studio floor rather than a grassy field. This early exposure to the adult world of Hollywood meant that Ron's childhood was shaped by long hours on set, smoky trailers, and an unyielding pressure to grow up too quickly. His first taste of fame came with the role of Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show in 1960, but the fame that followed was both a blessing and a burden. The loneliness behind the fame. While Ron Howard's role as Opie Taylor made him a household name, it also served as a gilded cage. California law required child actors to attend school for a few hours a day, but for Ron, the schoolroom was often replaced by cramped trailers and the chaotic noise of the film set. His peers were fellow child actors, not the childhood friends with whom he could play baseball or engage in simple, carefree moments. Ron later described the experience as a golden cage, safe yet isolating. Even when the cameras stopped rolling and the applause faded, he was left with a deep sense of loneliness. It wasn't just the absence of friends that hurt, it was the loss of the innocence that other children experienced. He was already a public figure, his face known to millions, but the personal connections that usually define childhood were missing from his life. A burden too heavy for a child. The fame that Ron Howard acquired so early in life had a cost, and that cost was a loss of innocence. At school, children mocked him with cruel rhymes based on his role as Opie. One of the most humiliating moments of his childhood came when he wet his pants in public, an event that carved itself into his memory. The weight of fame didn't just come from the recognition, but from the expectations that accompanied it. He was a young boy carrying the pressure of an industry, and when filming The Music Man at the age of 8, he was gripped by a panic so deep that he couldn't perform a simple dance routine without fearing disappointment. The relentless demands of Hollywood and the cold, unfeeling nature of the business forced Ron to grow up faster than most children, often at the expense of his emotional well-being. The curse of being. Known as Ron Howard transitioned into adolescence, the fame that had defined his early years became a cage from which he couldn't escape. At just 13 years old, he found himself increasingly confined by the image of Opie Taylor, unable to break free from the role that had made him famous. It wasn't just the public's perception of him, it was Hollywood itself, which insisted that Ron remain Opie, even as he grew into a young man. Casting directors and producers would greet him warmly but dismiss him just as quickly, deeming him too recognizable. This constant rejection, despite his best efforts to grow, left him feeling trapped in an identity that wasn't his own. As Ron later admitted, he didn't know who he was without Opie, and the pressure of living up to that image left deep scars. Struggling for independence. In his teenage years, Ron Howard sought to break free from the confines of his childhood fame. After the cancellation of The Monroes, a show he hoped would offer a fresh start, Ron was faced with the harsh reality that Hollywood had decided his fate. He blamed himself for the show's failure, even though he was just a young actor trying to find his place in a world that had already decided who he should be. His struggles to define himself were compounded by the overwhelming success of Happy Days in 1974. While the show gave him another chance to shine, it also reignited the sense of limitation that had haunted him since childhood. As the character of Richie Cunningham became a cultural icon, Ron was left to grapple with the fact that Hollywood seemed determined to keep him in a perpetual state of innocence and youth. The cost of success. Despite his professional success, Ron Howard's personal life began to reflect the toll that the industry had taken on him. The relentless drive for perfection led to long hours on set, endless meetings with studio executives, and a profound sense of isolation. By the time Apollo 13, 1995, was released, a film that would elevate him to the status of master director, Ron's personal life was unraveling. His mother's health was failing, and his brother Clint was struggling with addiction. Success, as Ron would learn, came with a price, one that could not be paid with awards or box office receipts. It was a cost measured in time lost with family and moments that could never be reclaimed. Loss, regret, and reflection. The passing of Ron Howard's mother, Jean, in 2000 marked one of the most painful chapters of his life. In the privacy of hospital corridors, far from the glare of the cameras, Ron faced the raw truth that success had come at the expense of time with the people who had loved him before Hollywood knew his name. His regret was palpable. The career he had built was something he had sacrificed precious moments for. Moments that could never be regained. The hollow condolences from colleagues at his mother's funeral only deepened the realization that fame and fortune had offered him everything except the time to be truly present with the ones who mattered most. A brother struggles. While Ron Howard was grappling with the loss of his mother, his brother Clint was fighting battles of his own. Clint Howard, a talented actor in his own right, had long struggled with addiction. Despite Ron's best efforts to save him, addiction proved to be an insurmountable obstacle. Clint's battles were a constant source of pain for Ron, who felt helpless as he watched his brother spiral. The painful moments of trying to intervene, of seeing his brother at his lowest, left a lasting mark on Ron. Even when Clint made progress and began to recover, the scars of those dark years remained. Ron Howard learned that no amount of professional success could protect him from the heartache of watching someone he loved suffer. The loss of Cindy Williams. In 2023, Ron Howard faced yet another heartbreaking loss, the sudden death of Cindy Williams, a dear friend and fellow actor. Cindy, who had shared many moments of laughter and camaraderie with Ron during their time together on American Graffiti, passed away unexpectedly after a brief illness. The news hit Ron hard, and for a moment, he was unable to speak. The memories of Cindy's bright laugh and warm spirit flooded his mind, and he realized just how much her presence had steadied him in the chaotic early days of fame. The grief was compounded by the guilt of not having stayed in touch, of not telling her how much her friendship had meant to him. In losing Cindy, Ron was reminded of how fragile life can be and how easily time slips away. A legacy of persistence. In 2026, Ron Howard stands as a man who has not only survived, but thrived in an industry that often chews up and spits out its stars. Now 71, his wealth and success are undeniable, but it is the journey behind them that leaves the greatest impression. His net worth is substantial, but the story of how he got there is one of persistence, hard work, and personal growth. His estate in Greenwich is a testament to the life he has built with his wife Cheryl and their 4 children, who are the true jewels of his life. Despite the challenges and losses he has faced, Ron Howard's legacy is not defined by his fame or fortune, but by his ability to rise above the storms life has thrown at him and continue to stand strong. Peace in simplicity. Today, Ron Howard's life is filled with simple rituals that were once stolen by the demands of fame. He enjoys quiet walks with Cheryl, reading scripts without deadlines looming over him, and weekends spent surrounded by his children and grandchildren. It is in these moments that Ron finds true peace, the peace that comes from knowing he has lived a life filled with love, generosity, and integrity. The hardships he faced, the losses he endured, and the successes he achieved all contribute to a deeper understanding that the greatest luxury in life is not wealth, but peace of mind. And as he moves into this next chapter, Ron Howard's story serves as a reminder that greatness is built not on perfection, but on persistence, love, and the quiet strength to keep going despite the storms.